the second Sunday of the month in December, the last month of the decade. It's your host, Richard John, and we are in our Harlem studios ready to give you the good word and all that is of sports and what else. I'm joined by none other, the man himself, the uptown folk legend, Samori Benjamin in the building. What is up?
Rich, how are you?
Oh, I'm great. Birthday's in a couple days. Got to do an escape room with some friends yesterday. So I'm feeling a little bliss right now.
That's cool, and I'm glad you're here. As always,
Yeah. You
great.
yourself? You're good?
I'm good, and
Got you, my brother.
I'm glad to see you because it's always good to have conversation with you about the world of sports, and we have some good debate sometime, and you
Sometimes.
know your stuff, so it's always good to be here with you. And today is going to be a good show.
Yeah.
I foresee a lot of passionate discussion taking place today.
Oh, I think every show we have is always passionate. That'd be a problem if it wasn't. But yeah, so let's get into it. So when we talk about passion, right? And passion I think is used very loosely. And sometimes I think many people don't realize with passion comes sacrifice. And I think someone who's sacrificed a good amount for his career and now is actually back in the NBA and enjoyed his career so much that his own kind of psychic caused them to miss time in the NBA last season. And I'm referring to no one else other than the great Carmelo Anthony. And why do we bring up Carmelo Anthony? Because this past week, Coach Fizdale was fired from the Knicks. And it made me think of when Carmelo was with the Knicks and how he almost inadvertently got fired from the Knicks too.
Carmelo should have been fired years before he got fired with the Knicks. Should have been fired years before. And it's interesting because this is, as you pointed out last week, and it did not occur to me until you pointed it out. And I said, oh, yeah, this is the last month of this decade. And I have been covering sports throughout the decade, and I've done many reports on the world of sports and on the Knicks and Carmelo Anthony. I covered Carmelo's whole Knicks career. I was pretty much at every Knicks game, every Knicks home game I was at his whole career. So
you got to see a lot of greatness.
Yes. No. Yeah, I got to see a lot of greatness come to the Garden to play against Carmelo's Knicks. And I saw a lot of players who weren't great at all have great games against Carmelo's Knicks when Carmelo was supposed to be the best player on the court, supposed to be the future Hall of Famer, supposed to be the best peer scorer in the game, and all this nonsense they had to hear for so long. There were many nights when I saw, a player who was ordinary have a great game, be the player of the game against Carmelo's Knicks, while Carmelo's Knicks would get run off the court at home by 20-plus points to some random bad team, and some random mediocre player would be the player of the game.
But then that same Knicks team would go and beat the Miami Heat in the regular season, and that same Miami Heat team that was afraid to play the Knicks in the playoffs.
Okay, so this being the last month of the decade, one of the things I'm doing is playing some of my best reports over the decade. And a lot of reports included the Knicks, and Carmelo Anthony was a big part of the Knicks for this decade. So there are, when we look at how the Knicks did with Carmelo, it was a historic, epic lows that they had with Carmelo's Knicks, which is why I can't hear when anybody says
they did win a division title.
You know what?
With Carmelo's Knicks.
You know what though?
They did win the division title.
You know what though? We'll get to that. So first,
that was their best chance to go to the NBA Finals. They did win a playoff series.
First, before.
But yes, the Knicks have been a laughing stock of the NFL. I mean, not the NFL, the NBA. I think. You see, I'm thinking of the Giants because they're the laughing stock now of the NFL. But the Knicks are the laughing stock of the NBA. They've only won 4 games this year. Fired their coach a couple of days ago. And at this point, like with the consistent streams of failure that seems to go on every other cycle with coaching for the Knicks, at some point you just have to go all the way to the top. And I think that's when it's a serious owner problem. So I think the Knicks' tumbles and difficulties aren't Melo's to be taken. Like, he shouldn't be held responsible for anything that's gone on with the Knicks, because this cycle of horrendous play has been going on for almost 2 decades now, Samori. The last time the Knicks made it to the NBA Finals, it was 1999. Okay, the last time I believe that was the last time the Knicks were actually legitimate and relevant within the fabric of the NBA. Other than the fact that they play at MSG, which is the mecca of basketball. If the Knicks played anywhere else and were still a New York team, no one would care as much. But it's just because the Knicks have such a lifeline to the NBA because of where they play and the significance of that arena, that the Knicks are as publicized as they were. And again, this is not on the pelvis of Carmelo Anthony.
Okay, so you know what? Before you get into all that, let's play this report, and then we'll get on to Carmelo and the Knicks. So this right here, I just want to set it up real quick. So last Monday, I played the first report of my best sports moments over this decade. The first one that I played was from about April 12th, April 13th of 2013. That report from last Monday that I played, that report, the Knicks had just won 13 straight games. At least they had just won their 13th straight game. They had clinched the Atlantic Division for the first time since 1994. Now think about that, folks. The Knicks, and they had not won the division since 2013. So the report that I played, the Knicks had won the division first time since 94. Knicks have won it just one time since 94, right? That's hard to believe. It's crazy. And in that report, it was Carmelo and the Knicks. They won 54 games that season. They were number 2 in the Eastern Conference. That was the first time that they had won as many games as they did since 97, the 54 wins they had in 2013. And the Knicks ended up, they were number 2 in the East, as I said, and they also went on to win the first playoff series since 2000. Now, the only problem with that season was that they ended up getting to the second round and getting upset by Indiana Pacers team that was a lower seed that had no business of beating them. So you mentioned the Miami Heat and how the Heat were afraid to play the Knicks and all this nonsense. The Knicks couldn't even get to play the Heat in the conference finals because the Knicks, led by Carmelo, who did not play well agaagainst Indiana in that second round.
Who were the Pacers led by again? Who were the Pacers led by? What was his name? Paul George?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was Paul George.
Exactly my point. Exactly my point.
I was going to play a report that I did from the following season in a November game where Paul George came to the Garden to play against Carmelo and the Knicks and beat Carmelo. Now, this is the problem. Carmelo had been in the league way longer than Paul George. Carmelo was the one who was supposed to be the big-time player, but here comes Paul George, just got in the league, and Paul George is already knocking you out of the playoffs. And then the following year, this report that I was going to play today, but I have a lot, so I didn't play this one because the one I have today I think would be more interesting. But this other one was interesting too, and it's with Paul George. It's called The Evolution of a Superstar, and Paul George did his thing. But anyway, I'm going to play this report right here. It's from December 12th, 2011, 2 months before Carmelo got traded to the Knicks. At this time, Carmelo was still with Denver. There were trade rumors that Carmelo might get traded to the Knicks and all this. So this is Carmelo playing against the Knicks 2 months before the trade, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Amazing streak continues with Carmelo in the building. The New York Knicks continued their incredible streak on Sunday afternoon with their 8th straight win and a 129-128 win over the Denver Nuggets at Madison Square Garden. The win was the Knicks' 13th in their last 14 games, and after beginning the season with a record of 3-8, they are now 16-9. The storyline of Sunday's game centered around Denver All-Star forward Carmelo Anthony, who many believe will be a Knick by this time next season. Anthony, in his 8th NBA season, is in the final year of his contract with Denver and has let it be known that he would like to play in New York. Carmelo scored 31 points in the game to go along with 13 rebounds, while Knicks forward Amari Stoudemire finished the game with 30 points. Stoudemire has now scored 30 or more points in every game the Knicks have won during this 8-game win streak, and Carmelo is very impressed.
I think right now he's on a hot streak. He's on a roll. He's getting it in different styles out there. He's getting it at the elbow. He's getting it at the block. His jump shot is falling right now. So he has a nice rhythm going right now. But I didn't see Samori, for a long time playing, like this. I'm happy for him. I'm happy he came here. I'm happy he's playing at the level that he's playing at right now.
The last time the Knicks saw Denver earlier in the season before Sunday, the Knicks left Denver with a record of 3 wins and 8 losses. After Sunday's game, the Knicks now have a record of 16 wins and 9 losses.
When we played them in Denver the first time, they look like a totally different team right now. They got a lot of rhythm going out there. It seems like everybody's on the same page. Everybody's, doing their part out there. And they rolling right now.
Carmelo says he received much love during his brief 2-day stay in the Big Apple.
Everybody's, yelling out the windows and just, Melo, we need you in New York, that talk. Of course that, that feels good when you know somebody out there wants you to come and, represent that team, represent their city. So that's what I took from it.
Now, the man who will have the responsibility of trading Anthony or not is Denver General Manager Masai Ujiri, and he spoke with WBAI Sports.
The situation is what it is, and we continue to talk and assess the situation, and we'll deal with it as it comes.
And Ujiri, who was born in Nigeria, is the first African-born general manager in the NBA.
You feel honored and blessed and humbled, and I certainly thank my organization and owners, the Cronkies, for the opportunity. And yes, I'm representing a great continent, and I think it's my duty to represent them well.
And we will give you more on the story of Denver Nuggets general manager Masai Ujiri in the coming days. Now, also yesterday, we spoke with former New York Knick and first-year Denver Nugget forward Al Harrington. Harrington played for the Knicks for the past 2 seasons, and Harrington told us his thoughts on his former team's play.
I think they're doing a great job, you know what I'm saying? It's really starting to come together for them, and I'm happy for them. Like I said, I'm always at the bottom of my heart, I'm a Knicks fan. And I'm just happy to see the team doing well.
All right, man. So I know last year, that to me you had an incredible season. I love your game. You can really do it all out there, and you lit it up last year on a number of occasions. And so I know you wanted to come back. Just how did that whole process work out over the summer, where you wanted to come back, you ended up not being able to, ending up in Denver?
Yeah, it was the process it wasn't that bad, but. I kind of knew early that, where the team stood, once they, traded David Lee and everything. So it was at that point I knew I had to move on. So it is what it is. In the past, I was just grateful to play for the Knicks for 2 years. And, no chapter in my life is done.
All right, man, I had to ask you about, the Carmelo Anthony situation. This team, he's been here for a while. It's 8th year on the team. And I know you guys have a team that had, guys are contender to make it to the Western Conference Finals and all that. And so I know you guys want to do that. So just, but when training camp first started, there was a lot of speculation that he was going to get traded and all that. So just what's it been like just in the locker room and just with that whole thing going down?
Honestly, we don't even think about it, man. The good thing about Melo is that even with the distraction, he don't let it affect him at all the way he did with us. So I think as long as he not, acting funny or doing anything like that, it's easy for us just to, go as business usual.
So you played in New York, right? So just seeing his personality and just seeing the kind of game he has and all that, just how do you think he would be able to handle it on this stage in New York, spotlight, all the media and all that?
Honestly, don't want to think about that, man. I just hope he's, stay with this team so we can keep winning.
And then we spoke with Carmelo Anthony's longtime Denver teammate, guard J.R. Smith. Smith says he has loved his time playing with Carmelo.
It's been fun being on the same team as Melo. He's made people better, not only on the court but off the court. I think he's matured to a great young man. I can't wait to see what the rest of his career looks like.
Is it tough at all to play when you're turning on TV and you hear people talking about your team and what might happen, and so much speculation?
Nah, that's pretty much been the team MO since I've been here working. They getting guys in and out, and working on, different things during this summertime in the season. So, it's just part of the game.
Right. So just for you as a basketball player, when you come to New York and play at Madison Square Garden, is there any special feelings playing in the Garden?
Definitely. It's the most historic building, in the world, in my opinion. I grew up in Jersey, so unfortunately, I didn't grow up a Knicks fan. I grew up a Bulls fan, but I always wanted to play the Garden.
You grew up in Jersey, you grew up a Bulls fan, and so Knicks, Knicks in the 90s, they were always in the playoffs, always had the city buzzing, In the last 10 years, they haven't been doing anything, no playoff games, just losses, and now you look up, and they're 14-9 right now. They're playing really good. You got Amari Stoudemire and everything coming together for them at the moment. So what do you think about what they're doing?
I think they're doing great. It's seven-game win streak, and it's first time in a long time. I'm sure a lot of people are glad to see it and want to see it. So, I'm happy for them. I'm just waiting to get out there with the new team again.
All right, Richie. So that right there was about 8-9 years ago, and funny because that was J.R. Smith who I was talking with, and of course I was trying to get the story before Carmelo even came here, and then excuse me. So I was talking to J.R., who at that time had been Carmelo's teammate in Denver for years, and then how funny it would turn out. Carmelo would get traded to the Knicks 2 months later after this report. And then the following year, J.R. Smith became a Knick too. And I covered both of them on the Knicks for a few years. And J.R. actually, I said before, J.R. was like the most stand-up guy I've ever seen in front of the media, because he was somebody who sometimes would go on the court, play a little wild. People would be thinking to themselves, what is J.R. doing? What's going on? And then he would come into the locker room after the game, always, and answer the questions, and he would always take the blame, and he would always answer it with some sense. He would always say, I need to play better. I need to do better. So JR, when he became a Knick eventually, was great with the media and a great stand-up guy. So that was him talking about Carmelo when they were still teammates. Now, also, very interesting point I want to point out. Carmelo Anthony, right, folks? A few years prior to him coming to the Knicks, so this was probably in December of 2007. It was the first season. No, it was actually December of 2006. The first season that Isaiah Thomas was the head coach of the Knicks. And Knicks against Denver, Carmelo comes to the Garden against the Knicks, and I was at this game too. This was like the second year I was covering Knicks games. I was at this game. Carmelo comes to play the Knicks again at the Garden. This big brawl breaks out. Carmelo actually, it starts because the Knicks were getting blown out by Denver, and J.R. Smith went to the basket in the fourth quarter. The Denver had their starters in the game in this blowout, and the background behind it was we heard that Knicks head coach Isaiah Thomas and Denver head coach George Karl. The Knicks had Larry Brown as the head coach the year prior. The Knicks, Isaiah as the general manager, fired Larry Brown after 1 year. George Karl had a relationship with Larry Brown from their North Carolina days. So the Nuggets are blowing out the Knicks and Isaiah. In the fourth quarter, the Denver starters are still on the court. So J.R. Smith goes to the lane as a Nugget. Nate Robinson comes and Marty Collins comes and stops J.R. from going up for a breakaway dunk. J.R. gets upset, and Nate Robinson comes and gets in J.R.'s face. J.R. and Nate get into a fight. Then Carmelo Anthony comes out of nowhere up to Marty Collins and decks him, cold cocks him dead in the face. Boom. And the whole Knicks bench starts chasing Carmelo Anthony down the court to get to Carmelo Anthony. It was a big mess. At that time, I remember Knicks fans, Carmelo is such a chump. He's a punk. He's scared. Yada, yada, yada. All this talk, Knicks fans can't stand Carmelo. Man. And then a few years later, Knicks fans can't wait to get him. They get him, and then they all forget about what happened then. Okay, so anyway, that's just a little backstory. But
people forget about Malice, and people don't think about Malice in the Palace that much.
Well, I'm just saying how some Knicks fans can be frauds at times, because they were all talking about how Carmelo was this bad guy, how they hated him, and then he comes to the Knicks and he does nothing for the team, and they all love him. But so anyway, that season right there, right? Because the Knicks, this has been a tough decade, bad decade for them. That was one of the 2 or 3 years where they actually had a solid team. The Knicks had not had a record over 500 for like 9 straight years up until like that season. And Amari That was Amori's first year. The Knicks were trying to sign LeBron that summer in 2010. LeBron and Dwayne Wade. They decided to go to Miami. Amori came to the Knicks. Amori, on Amori's back, Amori carried the Knicks to, at that time you heard it, 16-9 is the time in December during this game. And what was also I wanted to point out, so the Knicks ended up trading for Carmelo, right? 2 months later, right? And the Knicks, we just hear how good they were doing. When the Knicks got Carmelo, there was a stretch, right, after the Carmelo trade where the Knicks, and look it up, folks, if you don't believe me, the Knicks lost 9 of 10 games right after the trade. 9 of 10, okay? And so for me,
teams take a while to mesh together.
So
they do take a while.
Carmelo came, the Knicks were playing good. And Carmelo came, and immediately the Knicks started going down.
When LeBron joined Dwayne Wade in Miami, they started off really bad their first month and a half. They didn't start off as great as many people would like. Look at LeBron in LA now. First season it was crap. Now this season it's much better.
What did they have to do with Carmelo Anthony? The Knicks never came close.
But I'm saying in general, if you look at history,
struggle with what?
Statistically, if you look at history, it literally shows.
They went to the finals the first year together. How did
because they started off so bad and then meshed together over time.
Not winning the finals in the first year is not the same thing as Carmelo coming in the Knicks.
He came in the middle of the season. If it would be one thing, if he came in October, he came in February.
What superstar do you know comes to a team and the team loses 9 of 10 games after playing well before that?
LeBron and D-Wade and Chris Bosh didn't start that well off when they all came to Miami in their first season.
I just want to say that from the and I'll tell you, look, I bought into the hype before Carmelo got here. Before he got here, I bought into the hype. I thought he was the real deal. I was all for the trade. Bring him in, put him with Amori. Because look, Amori, as good as he's playing, he can't beat LeBron and Dwayne and Bosh by himself. Okay, he needs help. Bring Carmelo in, I'm all for it. It wasn't until Carmelo got here and I saw how he actually played in that whole losing 9 of 10 games as soon as he got here, and I saw that all he did was shoot jump shots, had no dribble, get to the basket game. The first half, he would score some points. Second half, he could score nothing. So after that first month that he was in Knicks, I would say, you know what, he's overrated. He's overrated. In my opinion of him, never changed.
Look at 2012, 2013 when they won the division title. When was the last time that happened?
I played a report from that last week. I remember it very well.
Exactly.
Yes.
And Melo was the focal point of that team.
Look,
you go.
There
you go.
Carmelo,
what do you mean you say he's overrated? He literally took the team to a division title. That's the best the Knicks can get given their current situation.
The reason why the Knicks had such a great year that year, and for like the only year of the whole decade where they did not underachieve, is because they had Jason Kidd in that locker room and Rasheed Wallace in the locker room. They had leaders in the locker room.
They had Carmelo, the leader of Carmelo, the leadership of Carmelo Anthony. You're right. You're completely right.
As soon as Kidd and Wallace retired the next season, the Knicks, and this is also a disgrace. This is a knock against Carmelo, right? The Knicks won 54 games that year, number 2 in the East, and ended up getting upset in the second round, whatever. So the next season, okay, this is a knock on Carmelo. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The next season, the Knicks, when Kidd and Rasheed, the true brains and leadership, leads the team with the same team, the Knicks, the next season, the first month of the season, lose every home game in November. How is that possible? They lost 9 straight games, period, in November. They did not even make the playoffs the next season, okay? That to me was the most disappointing season in Knicks history. You go from not doing anything for years, winning 54 games, right? So now Knicks fans thinking, okay, we have a chance to compete for a championship. We have not won one since '73. Carmelo comes in, right? So we just won 54 games. And then the very next season, we go from 54 wins, number 2 in the East, to not even making the playoffs, to winning 38 games, not even making the playoffs.
And you're solely blaming this on Melo?
Tell me. Tell me. How are you a great player? How are you a so-called Hall of Famer and your team loses every home
game
in
a
November?
Product of the environment that you're in. That is not Melo's fault. If we're gonna crucify Carmelo Anthony for the Knicks' blunders,
you are not, because the whole time, his whole career, people talking about how he's a great player, he's a Hall of Famer, he's this great all-time.
He is a Hall of Famer.
That's nonsense. Okay, tell me what Hall of Famer, after winning the 54 games the previous year, coming back with the same team, loses every home game in November. Does that to you not sound like a disgrace? Does it? Does it not?
That just sounds like you're in a bad environment.
No. You
do know who
again,
the owner of the Knicks is, dog.
Okay. See,
Don't worry, I'm not trying to play you, bro. Come on.
Okay, so this is my problem. Talk about the owner. How does James Dolan have anything to? How can you blame him? It's why I say people make
the culture that he puts into
this
it.
is what I say. This is why I say people make stupid arguments. Stupid, okay? Because
what do you mean?
Because again.
How are you going to ignore the years of constant?
Listen to all that nonsense you're
saying. That's complete asinine that you're going to say that the owner has no important significance to the lack of the Knicks' success. That is asinine. I'm going to walk out of this radio station.
So Rich, so please explain to me how you can go from winning 54 games one season, right? 54 games. And then the very next season, you go from winning 54 games to 38 and not even making the playoffs.
The Giants
what does the owner have to do with that? Like, how the owner at fault because of that? James Dolan is not on the court.
He's probably
anybody blaming James Dolan is an idiot. I'm sorry, straight up.
No, I'm sorry because if you look at the course of
games,
the
next year, the same team falls apart.
Okay.
How is that Dolan?
What happened?
How is that Dolan's fault?
What happened the season after? What happened the season after?
James Dolan on the court.
What happened?
I'm so glad you brought that up. Because
what happened the season after? The season after? The season after? The season after? He makes he makes these hires that don't work. And he puts these coaches in very tumultuous situations where they can't flourish. And it's very difficult for any coach or any player to actually succeed in New York.
That is all garbage, okay?
James Dolan has to sell the team. That's what he has to do.
Again, I'll say it again. Anybody who blames James Dolan for the Knicks' failures is an idiot, okay? I'm saying that very clearly.
How? You look at the past 20 years. The owner is not responsible for the.
Okay.
The Cowboys haven't won a Super Bowl since 1995. Is Jerry Jones to own for that?
Focus on the Knicks, okay?
I know. I'm giving you an example.
No.
I'm giving you an example.
Listen, okay?
At some point, ownership has to be accountability for lack of failure.
Okay. So
that's with any business in this country.
Okay, so you're telling me that the Knicks winning 54 games, right? One season, and then the next year going from that to 38 and not making the playoffs. So you're telling me that James Dolan takes more blame for that than the guy who's actually on the court getting paid millions of dollars, Carmelo Anthony. You're telling me Dolan?
The owner is the one who puts the owner is responsible for putting his subordinates in positions to succeed.
You see,
he's responsible for putting his subordinates.
He gave Carmelo and all those players, they're getting paid millions of dollars to do one thing. All they got to do is go out on the court, play basketball, execute, and win games. That's it. I wish my life would be that easy. So I don't want to hear about James Dolan being a negative influence. James Dolan is why the Knicks can't win.
I think it's the culture that he creates.
That is garbage. No, it's garbage.
It's the complete culture.
So listen.
But it's also it's within the management that he hires too.
Rich,
it's more than just
Rich. So the Knicks right now this season, right,
are 4-18.
Well, actually now they lost last night, so the 4-19.
4-19.
But at 4-18 on Friday, right? At 4-18 Friday, they fired the head coach David Fizdale, right? Excuse me. So 4-18, right, is the worst record, the worst start through the first 22 games in Knicks history. But actually, they are tied with another team. 5 years ago, Carmelo's Knicks started off 4-18 as well, right? Now
they finished 17 and 65. They finished 17 and 65.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which is the worst record in Knicks history. So Carmelo Anthony was the leader of the worst Knicks team in Knicks history in 70 years. That's saying a lot. And people are trying to tell me Carmelo Anthony is a great Hall of Fame player. That's nonsense.
You know what else?
Wait. I'm not finished. Hold on. Give me 1 second because it only gets better, right? So.
I don't know how
that,
good this
that year, 5 years ago, when the Knicks started off 4-18, okay, and I was there for all of it. This Knicks team right here, as bad as they are, with as weak of a roster as they have, will not have a record as bad as those Knicks, right? Those Knicks not only started off 4-18, Rich, after 41 games. Do you know how many games they won after 41 games?
Maybe 7 or 8.
After 41 games. The Knicks that season were 5-36, okay? And what drove me crazy is that the All-Star game that year was at Madison Square Garden. So if your team is 5-36, you have no business at all being in the All-Star game, let alone starting in the All-Star game. Carmelo, he starts, okay, having a terrible season. He starts. What a joke, a complete joke. If you are 5-36, not only are you not a Hall of Famer or a great player, but you have no business starting in the All-Star game. And that's my problem. Like, that was the problem with the Knicks. Everybody giving Carmelo a pass and blaming everybody else, from his teammates to Phil Jackson, who got scapegoated completely, James Dolan, who is not on the court. He's paying these guys money to go out there and just hold it down.
But look at the fact that
disaster.
since 2000,
since 2000, Carmelo Anthony being a great player. Carmelo Anthony is the most overrated player in the history of basketball.
Since the start of this century, the Knicks have been an embarrassment. That is literally 19 to 20 plus years.
They have. Okay.
They've been in a complete. At some point, you have to put the onus on management and ownership, because you cannot have an organization being that bad for so long unless there's unless there's internal change within that specific culture and environment.
Okay, so from
this is a normalcy in any world set of work we are in.
No, it's not. Okay.
Yes.
Every situation
yes.
is different.
Because at some point, that's what it comes down to. I can hire the best workers.
Basketball, sports is an inexact science. Okay. I don't care how good of an executive.
When was the last time a bad owner won a? When was the last?
I don't care. Okay.
When was the last time a bad owner has won an NBA final?
I have a story for. I mean, what is bad
exactly my point? That is my point.
No, not your point.
That is my point.
What in the world? What in the world does bad owner mean? I mean, a bad owner is subjective. Okay. That's a subjective view.
People even say Mark Cuban isn't that great an owner. He still won an NBA championship.
Listen, and I mean, we're saying this nonsense. I don't care who your owner is at all, or the general manager. They can't play for the players, okay?
Yeah,
the
they
players
put them.
Have to go out there and execute.
Put them in positions.
I don't care.
They put them.
I don't care. That's nonsense, okay?
James
Dolan is not out there on the court heckling these guys, hurting their performance. That's complete garbage, okay? These guys on the court themselves. The owner can't hold their hand. The GM can't hold their hand.
But
the coach can't hold their hand.
Yes.
They're the ones on the court performing, period, okay? They're the ones that control the narrative. Carmelo and all the other players they had a lot of talent, and they underachieved every year. Like right now, this year, at 4-19, okay, we knew
they're
coming
an
in.
embarrassment. I agree with you.
We knew
but
coming
whose
in.
fault is that?
It's the players. It's the players. Okay?
No, it is the culture that is
not,
within.
That culture.
That is
garbage.
That is the same reason why the Knicks can't get any big free agency signings, because no one wants to play for James Dolan.
Listen, okay?
The
Knicks.
It's a bad culture. That's what I'm
Knicks,
trying to.
The Knicks this year were the worst team in the league last year. So
they're probably going to be the worst team in the NBA at the end of this season too.
Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, these guys. They don't want to come here, not because of Dolan.
Because of Fizdale?
No, because the Knicks were the worst team in the league. That's why. They want to win, okay? The Knicks are the worst.
You think Brooklyn is any better?
Brooklyn made the playoff last year.
Barely, because the East was so bad.
I agree, but the Knicks are the worst team in the league. So what team do you know?
I could have put a bunch of college all-stars in the NBA, and they would have made the playoffs in the Eastern Conference.
Listen. And the same goes for when Carmelo was here. The Knicks could not win. When they started off 5-36, the same 5-36, the East was just as bad. Okay, so I don't want to hear nothing about Carmelo Anthony being a great player. Okay, that's my point. Okay, exactly. And when Carmelo was here at 5-36, they were expected to be a good team. Right now, everybody knows from the beginning they weren't going to be a good team. When they had Carmelo 5 years ago and started off 5-36, they were expected to be a good team. In the bad East, exactly. 5 guys from the YMCA could have competed for the playoffs in the East that year, and the Knicks were 5-36. Exactly. But look, my thing with the Knicks, I felt for a long time since the Isaiah Thomas era, Rich, right? When they had a lot of talent on the team, and I can remember talking to NBA players when the Knicks, when they had a backcourt of Stephon Marbury, star, Jamal Crawford, 10, 11, 12 years ago, big-time player, Steve Francis on the bench coming up, backing them up.
We actually have a caller
and Nate Robinson.
On the line. Oh, well, they hung up. So,
yeah. So with Isaiah Thomas, who was a great guard, right? Isaiah brought in Stephon Marbury, Jamal Crawford. That was the Knicks starting backcourt. Then they had Nate Robinson and Steve Francis coming off the bench, right? They had those 4 guards. They had a young Quentin Richardson. They had David Lee. He has so much talent. They even brought in Zach Randolph the next year to put with that. And the Knicks could not win a game. And I remember talking to NBA players like, yo, asking them, telling them, I told them the Knicks, I feel like, have a talented roster. I can't understand why they lose all the time. What do you think? And players would tell me that one of the biggest topics of conversation in the league is how the Knicks, with all their talent, cannot win basketball games. The Knicks have underachieving for years. Even this year at 4-19 in a weak roster, they should be better than this and underachieving. So my thing,
guess what?
What I felt like for a long time is that the playing for the Knicks is hard. It's a lot of pressure playing here. Madison Square Garden is a big spotlight. It's a big stage. You see the games. This big spotlight shining on the court. You got all these celebrities, all these stars there to see you. The place is packed. People want the team to win. And when the Knicks start playing bad, the crowd, at least back during the Isaiah Thomas years, when the Knicks would play bad from off the jump, the Knicks fans would start booing them. Now the fans hardly boo at all. But back then they booed all the time when Isaiah and Marbury were here. They would start booing. The media would get on the team, criticize the team, the pressure, the players. For whatever reason, they come here and they can't handle the pressure. They can't handle the stage. And they start off bad, get into these losing streaks, and everything just falls apart and it spirals out of control. That's been to me, the Knicks' biggest problem the last 15 years, 16, 17 years.
It gets to the point.
The players they have are not mentally tough. They come here and
oh my God.
And they're not mentally tough.
You're telling me they're not mentally tough?
It's
you know how much
yes,
to play any
it's
sport, to play
either
any
that or they're cursed. It's one of the two. But
I think they're cursed by James Dolan is what they're cursed by.
The Knicks' problem has
That's what their curse is. You're damn right on that.
The Knicks' problem has never been about talent. They've had talented teams. When
they've gotten players past their prime. That's what they've done. That is literally what they've done.
No, it's not what they've done. They've had plenty of talent and just underachieve every year.
Since the start of this century, the Knicks have been
they underachieve every year. It's not about talent. They have plenty of talent. Okay, it's not a talent issue. It's the underachieve. You go from winning 54 games, number 2 in the East, not making the playoffs this year. What team does that?
But then guess what?
What team does that?
I'm not denying that.
Listen,
I'm not denying that.
Carmelo's last year.
What I'm saying is that the fact that is the same core, that is the same case ever since the Knicks have made the playoffs in 2013, is that they have been a complete laughing stock ever since they have been a part of that division winning team in 2013. That is a subset sample size of mediocrity led by the owner, who should have full responsibility.
Led by Carmelo and the players, not the owner. James Dolan is not playing on the court, okay? Led by Carmelo.
We have a caller on the line. Carmelo. Hey, caller, what's your name and where you from?
Brown from Harlem.
How you doing, bro?
Yo. How's it going, man?
How's it going?
Good. Thanks for calling.
Thanks for calling in.
Y'all okay in there? You want me to come out? I can come through and I want to get between you guys and put the gloves on, the headgear. We could just get this done.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to tell him. I'm trying to talk some sense into him. You know what I'm saying?
I'm trying to talk some sense into him.
I know it's hard because a lot
of
New Yorkers feel that way.
It's like, hold up, I got to run up the city. I like y'all guys, man. Come on now.
No. It's all good. It's passionate talk. So
you're passionate, bro. You're bringing it.
Yeah, I mean, as you can see on this issue, I was there throughout the whole Carmelo era, and just keep. And
listening. Who's also been there throughout the whole Carmelo era? James Dolan too. Exactly.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Well.
I mean, the Knicks, like you say, the owner doesn't play.
Exactly.
Melo, they should have built the team, got other pieces. They gave him all that money. He did so, like you said. Come on, man. These guys, man, and I'm a Knicks fan, but come on, these guys. Fizdale, I don't even know if Fizdale should have been fired because look at the team he got.
Look, so
he did the best he could, but that's just the toxic environment that you're in when you play for James Dolan.
Please listen. Dave Fizdale is getting paid millions of dollars, okay, to do one thing: coach NBA basketball team. If I was David Fizdale and my team was 4-18, getting blown out off my home court against bad teams, I would know that I could be fired any day. Okay, David Fizdale did not do anything to keep his job. Nothing. Okay, he did nothing where you could say, okay, he's the man for the job. Nothing. I'm not saying that he should have been fired. You know what? But I can't say that firing him is a bad thing. The Knicks are an embarrassment. And the Knicks team right now, their roster is not great. We know that. But it's not even about the Knicks being bad. We knew this year they will be bad, but you got to be somewhat competitive. You got to scrap. You got to at least show some kind of progress. And nothing. They are as bad as they've ever been. And it's just, come on, like you can't be getting blown out on your home court by Cleveland, who was as bad as you are, or Sacramento, who was as bad as you are, down by 30 in the third quarter on your home court. That's why he got fired. Okay, you can't be going and getting beat back-to-back games by 40 points. I mean, come on, like
right. Earlier
and guess what?
Games, but now they seem to not even be able to be competitive.
They look like they don't even want to play on the court anymore. You know what? It's because of the environment that they're in.
That's garbage. Okay, that's just all.
If you work for a boss that treats you like
what you're saying is make believe, okay?
It's not make believe. This isn't any fallacy of corporate America. Are you kidding me?
A boss that treats you like what? Give me some facts.
I mean, we have FCC regulation. We have FCC regulation, so I cannot curse on this show. But you can only imagine what I would say, because that is severely true in any form of employment that you have in this country or in this globe.
Stick with the Knicks.
I am sticking with the Knicks, and they're a business. What are you talking about? They're a business.
What is, you said James Dolan treats his players bad. What is James Dolan doing to his players that's treating them bad? What?
He's created a toxic culture with the Knicks.
What does that mean?
It's not playable. That's why free agent players don't want to go there.
I'm gonna get off the phone. But do you think what you think is the team, right? I mean, the players are not ready, right?
The players are not mentally strong who come here. They come here and they all fold under the pressure. That's the biggest issue, okay? I don't care who the general manager is, who the owner is. I don't care what players you got. I don't care if on paper you have the best roster ever. The players have to go out there on the court and execute and win basketball games, period. If they don't do that, then the narrative is going to be what it is. They're losing and the team will not win games, okay? But it's on the players. The players are the only ones on the court playing the game, okay? And they have had over the years more than enough talent, all the Carmelo years, more than enough talent to go out there and be a respectable basketball team, and they could not do that because they underachieve every season. That's it with the Knicks. Do
you know how bad it looks if the fact?
And fellas, do you think they need a legitimate one or two superstars, like better players, right?
Yes, they do.
Quality superstars.
But the problem is none of them want to come here.
Well, yeah, because the Knicks are the worst team in the league. That's why.
And why?
They want it because of the players cannot perform. They come in underachieve. I told you why the whole hour. Because the players come here and they underachieve. Okay, so and it's not true that guys don't want to come here. If Knicks would have offered Jimmy Butler the max, he would have came here. If they had offered Tobias Harris the max, he would have came here. Anthony Davis said he wanted to come to the Knicks or the Lakers. He said that. Zion wanted to come to the Knicks because Kyrie, who's an oddball, who talks about how the earth is flat, there were no dinosaurs. He's the only guy you ever seen who did not want to play with LeBron James because Kyrie didn't come here, and KD, who tore his Achilles. Look, could you imagine if the Knicks had signed KD, right? And right now they're at 4-19, and everybody's looking at KD like, okay, KD, next year you're going to come here and be the savior. That would have been a mess waiting to happen, okay? KD did not want any parts of that. So he went to Brooklyn with Kyrie. The pressure is not as big, period, okay? So I don't want to hear about nobody wants to come here. That's not
James
true,
Dolan is not the owner of the team. Yeah,
here.
you're right.
I mean,
I would go to Brooklyn too.
You talk about Carmelo and how great he is when he was here, and when they started off 5-36, okay, and finished 17-65, yeah. Nobody wanted to come play with Carmelo either. You know what I'm saying? If he's so great.
Because Porzingis and him, I thought they were the future. You know, I thought they could have played together, but they didn't make it happen. They didn't. You know, Porzingis didn't want to stay or something. They say.
Porzingis didn't even want to stay.
Listen, Porzingis, really, folks, when you think about it, right? There's not been. Porzingis was one of the very few, maybe the only one who. Because when guys come to the Knicks, I tell you, they love to be Knicks because when they're here, they're in New York City. So they love being rich, young athletes in New York City, okay?
Right.
And you know what I'm saying? And playing at the Garden. They love that.
Right.
I remember when I remember when Knicks were that 5-36 year, right? When the Knicks traded, and by the way, all we heard was, oh, Carmelo has no help, right? The Knicks traded J.R. Smith and Amon Shumpert to Cleveland. Oh, Carmelo has no help, but LeBron is sending for these two guys to come help him win championships, right? Okay, so anyway, when Shumpert and JR get traded, both of them were sad that they got traded. At 5-36, we're sad to be leaving the Knicks, to be leaving New York, to go to Cleveland and LeBron, okay? That just tells you that these guys love to be rich, young athletes in New York City, okay? I've been around them a lot. I know, okay? These guys, when they come here, as bad as the losing is, they don't want to leave, okay?
Look at what happened with Jara. You go out every night in New York, and then he goes to Cleveland, and then he's more proficient. His shooting percentage goes up a lot better.
Yeah, but they won the championship that year they went there, right? Remember that, right? Didn't they win?
That first year they lost.
They won.
The first year they lost.
The
next year they won. I mean, they were in 4 straight finals with LeBron. 4 straight finals with LeBron. JR and Amon, who
that's right.
You know, and Carmelo had no help here, right? That's complete garbage. Carmelo Anthony is the most overrated player in NBA history, okay? Period.
See, and that's where I have to disagree with you.
Period.
I really like Shepard too, man. He was a good player.
He was one of the best young defensive players in the NFL, and he still is a great defensive player. NBA, sorry. But he's one of the better defensive players in the NBA. But here's the point. How can Carmelo be overrated? He literally came, he wasn't the savior that everyone expected him to be. They just expected the Knicks to be competitive, which they were. They won the division title. They went to the semifinals for the Eastern Conference and took it to 6 games. Everyone knew that he wasn't going to be the great
games. They got upset. They were supposed to win that series. They were down 3-1 to a lesser Indiana team. That was a disgrace.
That same Indiana team that took the Heat to 7.
Yeah, because they were a real team.
Oh,
real heart. And Carmelo Anthony, led by him, they were not that good. Okay, period.
Gosh.
And then, but Brian, did he not hear me say that when the Knicks traded for Carmelo? I mean, I played the whole report, broke it down, how they were playing well that year without him. Then he comes here and they lost 9 of 10 games immediately when Carmelo came here. And so how is that not overrated? How, when you start off 5-36, you're not overrated? How are you 5-36 and you're starting on the All-Star game? If that's not overrated, I don't know what is. Okay, all right.
Devin Booker starts in an All-Star game.
I mean, team is trash. Brian. One last thing. Carmelo's last year, right, when they had him, Porzingis, Derrick Rose, who was balling that year, but because he was with the Knicks, nobody noticed, right? The Knicks that year at Christmas were like the 4th or 5th seed in the Eastern Conference, right?
Yeah.
Listen, the final 4 months of that season, the Knicks could not win back-to-back games one time the final 4 months. The final 4 months could not win back-to-back games once. Now, how is that not an overrated player? What Hall of Famer with players with help on the team goes 4 straight months without winning back-to-back games? I mean, look, I see guys like James Harden and Westbrook by themselves at times in years past, by themselves carry lottery teams by themselves to the playoffs, okay? By themselves in the Western Conference. And Carmelo was in the East with help and was 5-36 and worse. I mean, I don't want to hear nothing about Carmelo being great, nothing, okay? He is overrated, but he's terrible, period. All right?
It's all better now because this past week, Carmelo Anthony was named Western Conference Player of the Week.
Yes, and you know what, Brian? That's a joke too because
Portland Trail Blazers,
Carmelo had one game
named Western Conference Player of the Week,
and that just proves my point how he's overrated because he played.
I don't think they give awards to overrated players. There is no most overrated award.
Yes, they do. When you are 5-36 starting in the All-Star game, they give you awards for being overrated. Yes, you're overrated when you're 5-36 starting in the All-Star game. Okay, and him right now, I don't want to sound like a hater. I'll break it down why him getting this Player of the Week award, that nonsense was nonsense because he played. It consisted of 3 games. He played Chicago twice, who's terrible, and OKC, who's also terrible. So against Chicago, Carmelo had 23 points one game. In the second Chicago game,
he literally hasn't played in the NBA since December of last year.
He had 23 points against
He literally
Chicago
did not
one
play
game.
in the NBA.
The next
since
Chicago game, he
last
scored
year.
25 points. And then against OKC, he had 19
The
points.
fact that he could come out
and
and
he
play.
gets player of the week, it just shows you how Carmelo does something good. And everybody gets happy, want to give him player of the week.
They gave him a 10-day contract and then restructured it so it's the remainder of the season.
It's a joke. Houston, when Carmelo was with the Knicks, all people said was he has no help, right? And then he goes to OKC. They underachieve. OKC cannot wait to get rid of Carmelo. They get rid of him immediately after 1 year. Then he goes to Houston, and Houston last year started off like 3-10 or something like that with Carmelo Anthony after 10 games, and Houston cut Carmelo after 10 games. They cut their losses with him. James Harden by himself, with Carmelo out of the way, carried that team to the playoffs, okay? Carmelo, get out the way. Stop taking all these bricks, okay? You want to be on the team and want to be Mr. Man, I'm a star. Oh, start me, I'm great. No, get off the team, get out the way. By myself, James Harden said, I will carry this team to the playoffs, okay? Carmelo Anthony, please, all right? I'm sick of hearing it.
You're saying he should be coming off the bench, not starting, right?
I'm just saying any team. Exactly.
I agree with that. He shouldn't be starting because he is more of a veteran role, but that doesn't take away that he's still a great player.
No, he's not a great. Listen.
All right.
When you Brian, when you go 4 straight months without winning back-to-back games, and your team starts off 5-36 another year and finishes with the worst record in team history in 70 years, you are not a great player at all.
And
okay?
Brian, when you take your team to,
you think he's a Hall of Famer?
Heck no. Heck no.
That'll be
no.
That'll be a debate for an upcoming show because we do have to take a station break. And
Brian,
resume.
thank you so much.
Thank
man.
you so much for Brian. I'm sorry you had to
right
listen to this boxing. Well, I hope you continue to call in. This boxing match will continue on another topic once you take our break.
Harlem has its own radio station.
For you and yours,
WHCR 90.3 FM.
the loudest party in the whole universe.
The voice of Harlem.
Welcome back. This is Richard and Samori here after that very hour-long debate on Carmelo Anthony. There definitely more is to come on that, so definitely be on the lookout because, you know, we're all Samori and I are both sweating bullets out here because there's definitely a lot of blood between the both of us, but
you know what? And if you all,
you're making it difficult, man.
If somebody wants to call in, the number is 212-650-6903. If you want to call in,
I'm sure they're going to want to call in once we talk about this next topic. 212-650-6903. So we'll shift topics to another New York team.
Who I feel to another guy who I feel the same way about.
So yes, the Giants were officially mathematically eliminated from the playoffs last week at 2-10. And Daniel Jones got injured in the game last week. He has a high ankle sprain and will not play this upcoming Monday night against the Eagles in Philly. So who is coming to take his realm and save the Giants for the final 4 games of the regular season and bring this team to a hopeful 6-10 record and spoil the playoff dreams of the Philadelphia Eagles, knowing that he has 2 chances to do it? The great elite Eli Manning is starting officially tomorrow, Monday night, in the city of brotherly love to take on the division rival Eagles. And, you know, Samori and I, we get very passionate about Eli. He's a man that has brought us a lot of sadness, a lot of joy. He's brought more joy in my life than sadness, maybe the exact opposite for Samori. But this is still a man of great importance within the world of New York sports. And, you know, an interesting fact I came out
overrated. Stop it.
An interesting, great fact. You know what overrated people aren't? Do you know what they don't do, Samori? They don't secure bags. You know what Eli Manning did? He secured the bag. You know who the highest paid player in the history of the NFL is? In all of the NFL, you know who the highest paid player in the history of the NFL during his career? It's Eli Manning at a whopping $250 million plus that he's made on his salary from the NFL alone. Not even Tom Brady can claim that. Overrated players don't secure bags, Samori. And he secured the bag. He didn't. This was might as well been a vacation for him because he got benched after week 2. And he still got paid $23 million.
Rich, thank you for making my point so easy, okay? Because the fact that Eli Manning is the highest paid player ever in NFL history proves easily proves that's 1 point to use to show how he's overrated, because there's no way in the world Eli Manning should be the highest paid player, should have made the most money of any player in NFL history.
Yeah.
Because unless you are the best player to ever play in the league or the best player to play in the league while you were playing, if you are not that, then you getting paid the most ever is you being overrated. And he is far from the best player ever or in his generation. And you know what?
I never said he was the best player. I just said he's not overrated. Because to be overrated means you're not doing your job well.
If you're the highest paid,
to get all that money, you must be doing something really well over the tenure of your career.
No, you're too.
I'm sure John Mayer and Steve Tisch just don't hand out money like that, like it's nothing.
They do, and that's why the Giants have been a disgrace now. Like I said over and over again, this is the worst stretch the Giants have been in over 40 years, and it's because the Giants have built the whole team and kowtowed to Eli Manning. The fact that Eli Manning was allowed to be the starter for years, for losing year after losing year, that's the reason why the Giants are terrible now, because instead of getting rid of him, they got rid of everybody else and kept him. And as you said, Eli is getting paid $20+ million this year for nothing. He's not even playing because he's terrible. That's why.
He's playing Monday night.
He's terrible. You know what, though? Actually, I can't stand Eli Manning as a football player. I think he's overrated completely. And
you have to be doing your job right to get all that money. He took the Giants to 2 Super Bowls, took them to 3 division titles. What more can you ask for?
The Giant team took him there. He was just happened to be the quarterback, okay?
He was the Super Bowl MVP 2 times.
Please, I'm not even going down that nonsense road again. So Eli Manning, actually, you know what, though? I am glad, actually. I'm happy, actually, that he's starting tomorrow. I'm very happy that he's starting tomorrow, because right now, folks, Eli Manning's record is 100.
I knew you were going to go here.
Eli Manning's career record, right? 116 wins, 116 losses. So when the Giants lose tomorrow night with Eli Manning, the way they always lose with him, Eli Manning officially will have a career losing record, and the history will show how bad this guy is. Okay.
Hey, caller, what's your name and where are you from?
This is Sharu from Harlem.
Sharu from Harlem.
Sharu from Harlem. How are you?
How's it going? What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up? Nah, just on the Eli Manning thing. You know, Samori, I totally agree with you that he's way overrated.
Thank you.
And, there's so many stats that make him look so bad. Like, people always want to bring up the 2 Super Bowls. Those are the only 2 years he won a playoff game out of 16 years.
Preach.
To me, that's pathetic.
Pathetic.
I mean, he's led the league in interceptions and turnovers and losses since 2011.
Terrible.
The one year they made the playoffs a couple years ago, he was the 3rd worst quarterback in the league.
3rd worst.
Number 2 defense.
Yep.
It just goes on and on and down. It's just on and on so many things. And he has to be the luckiest player ever. Like, I think you told me that the year he won the first Super Bowl, he led the league in interceptions.
Yeah,
like,
he did.
He's the luckiest player ever.
He is.
Like, you know, that great Tyreek catch.
Yeah.
Even the second Super Bowl, if I think it's a pass, if Wes Walker makes that catch, the Patriots probably win.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I don't understand why he. I mean, 2 Super Bowls is hard to like scratch off, because he has that. That's the only thing that makes him in the conversation. But other than those 2 runs, he's done nothing.
Nothing.
I mean, even Aaron Rodgers has only won 1 Super Bowl right now. You don't. I don't think you're missing the point of how hard it is to win a Super Bowl.
But Super Bowls is a team effort. Okay, it's a team effort.
But the fact that you literally
Aaron Rodgers has only won 1, but the Packers have been competitive every year with this guy.
Eli won them.
The Giants have been non-competitive every year since 2011.
Eli led them down the field to win both Super Bowls when they were trailing. They were trailing. Both those Super Bowls were come from behind wins.
He's had some games. He's had some big clutch moments.
Yeah.
Like, that's so he's had big clutch moments. But other than that, it's nothing.
But look.
The Super Bowl's the highest thing. So you perform on the Super Bowl, I get it. Other than that, it's nothing.
Sharu, Eli Manning led some 4th quarter drives. Why? Because the defense held the other team down where it was not a shootout. If you have to win a game because of Eli Manning, because of his arm, in any kind of shootout, you have no chance. All those games, the Giants defense kept the other team, Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, Matt Ryan, all these great quarterbacks. The Giants defense kept them low, kept them bottled up. They kept them from putting up big numbers. And because of that, because the Giants offense to not have to match any kind of big point total. And all Eli had to do was make a few plays in the game. He was able to do it, okay? All right? Look, the one game that became a shootout, right? The last playoff game the Giants were in 3 years ago when he played Green Bay, as soon as that game became a shootout and Aaron Rodgers became Aaron Rodgers, Eli Manning could not compete, all right? And all Giants fans want to do is talk about a couple of first quarter drops, okay? When the whole second half, Eli Manning didn't do anything. Aaron Rodgers up here putting up 30+ points.
What do you mean?
Going crazy.
If your wide receivers can't catch the ball, whose fault is that?
Eli Manning can't compete in any kind of big game shootout with a big time quarterback. So
he beat Tom Brady. He's beaten Tom Brady 3 times.
He beat Tom Brady because the Giants defense held him to 14 points or 17 points. That's why.
But the thing is, those two games. Look at his entire career.
Exactly. Been like 250 games.
14 out of 16 years, he did not win a playoff game.
Nothing.
No,
and
his entire body of his career. That is horrible.
Listen, Eli has
miracle runs. That's why I say he's lucky. 2 miracle runs.
Yes.
They were like 9-7, or like they were about to make the playoffs, and then they get in, and boom, that happened in football. 2 miracle runs.
The Giants.
All he had.
Exactly.
I mean, look at the Packers.
In 2011, when the Giants won the last Super Bowl, last time they were good, the Giants were 7-7 after 14 games. Okay. And that was a big reason because Eli Manning is not that good, and
the defense was giving up record yards. Are you kidding me?
Listen. There's so many games I can remember that season where Eli Manning would start off playing bad, turning the ball over. The Giants would get down in games, and then they had to come. Then Eli had to throw for the rest of the game to get the team back because he made mistakes.
I can give you examples of where the Giants defense was so bad and they gave up record yards in games, especially even a Monday night game that same year when the Giants were in like the midst of a 2-game losing streak. They went into New Orleans where they gave up almost a record amount of yards given up for the entire season.
But New Orleans was sick that season. They would do that to everybody.
Yeah.
Nobody could stop the Saints thing.
Exactly. I mean, that whole.
But now you're just making excuses.
The past decade. Exactly. The past decade, the Saints, the past decade, anybody knows. You play the Saints over the last 10 years, you could get blown out. Anybody, okay? Look at today's game. The Saints are playing the 49ers, the best defense in the league.
Barely winning.
And the Saints got like 40 points on the 49ers,
and they're
okay?
losing.
That's the point. Yeah, the past decade, the Saints could blow out anybody, okay? So what are you talking about here? I mean, listen, Eli Manning, he's so overrated. Him and Carmelo, and you know how I feel about Carmelo too, Sharu. I mean, yo, man, but again, like I said, I'm actually smiling that Eli is starting tomorrow because tomorrow, around midnight, Eli will be a career losing quarterback. Okay, all this nonsense, and you look at the guys, the quarterbacks who came in the league with Eli, Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers. Their career records.
Phillip Rivers hasn't won a Super Bowl.
Their career records are way better.
Hold on.
Better than Eli Manning.
I'll give you a stat about Phillip Rivers that'll blow your mind. Phillip Rivers.
Tell me his career record.
Phillip Rivers.
Tell me Eli's career
Rivers in 2000, I believe it was 2010. Phillip Rivers, the San Diego Chargers, when they were still called the San Diego Chargers, had the number 1 offense and the number 1 defense. It's never happened in the history of the NFL where a team has had both the number 1 and the number one.
I didn't say I liked him.
No,
but
guess what? They didn't make the playoffs that year. They didn't make the playoffs.
So what?
That goes to show you that Eli can work within chaos because Phillip Rivers cannot do that.
Say it again.
How do you not make the playoffs? You have the best offense.
They have the best offense. The special teams was the worst
crazy.
in like NFL history. It was really, really bad.
They had the worst special teams.
They had the worst special teams in the history of NFL.
That's very crazy.
Very crazy. Look it up. It's actually really true how bad they were.
And Phillip Rivers is not a Hall of Famer either at all. Okay.
Well, no, because he hasn't won a Super Bowl.
I wasn't saying his praises. I was just saying that his career record is way better than Eli Manning's. Way better than Eli Manning's. Okay, way better. Eli Manning is a trash can quarterback. Period. Okay. Period. Oh, Sharu, get ready for tomorrow night because get ready for the old line can't block or the old line is terrible. Get ready for that. Get ready for it tomorrow.
Hey, did you remember last year?
Hey, 200 yards and 4 TDs. I'm worried about that.
The whole Giants had no line. They can't block. I haven't heard one word of that since Daniel Jones has been the quarterback. Not one word. Okay?
Yeah, all I see is Daniel
word.
Jones fumbling the ball left and right like he has fumbleitis.
And if that was Eli, they'd be like, oh, they can't block for him. That's why he's fumbling the ball all the time. Nonsense, man.
Jones has looked bad with those fumbles. Like he's been they call him Eli Jr.
Exactly.
Somewhere. They call him Eli Jr.
Exactly.
Which is not a compliment.
Hey, the day Jones got drafted, I said that the Giants drafted the Eli clone. That's what I said. All right. So from day one, all right, some guy from Duke, Dave Brown school, wearing Dave Brown's number 17. Okay, like please. But having said that, though, I am willing to give Jones a chance. I like his ability way more than Eli Manning. He can move. Yeah. I mean, I'm so thrilled to see a quarterback that can move around. Because Eli Manning is a complete stiff.
He's 38 years old. Are you kidding?
No, his whole career. He's 38. His whole career has been a stiff.
He's never been a mobile quarterback.
He's been a stiff.
That's like ever since he's been in the league. Tom Brady was never an agile quarterback.
No, but
Tom Brady was never the most athletic running quarterback.
Tom Brady could dunk and slip away. He's not a statue like Eli Manning.
Exactly.
So Tom Brady's not going to run for 30 yards. He's not going to just sit there and fumble every time it's a run, the way Eli Manning does.
Eli does not even try. It's pressure. He's going down. Like he's going in the fetal position. I mean, watch tomorrow night. Watch the fetal position.
The Eagles have one of the worst secondaries in the NFL. So Eli's going to light them up. Just wait on it.
Oh man, listen.
Watch. He's got golden tape back.
We all know.
Got golden tape back. He's got Sterling Shepard.
And Ingram's back. And
I think Ingram's out. Ingram's out. I don't think he's playing tomorrow. Ingram's not playing tomorrow.
Look, I saw
Ingram isn't playing tomorrow.
I saw Edo.
I heard they said he was.
No, I think they ruled him out now.
Ingram. You know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's on the field. Doesn't matter if it's Saquon, Ingram, Shepard, Odell Beckham. Doesn't matter. Tyreek Hill, Julio Jones. It don't matter. We know what's going to happen. The Giants' offense is not going to move the ball. Eli's going to be terrible. You know what I'm saying? You know what? Maybe he might surprise us all and have some halfway decent game. I'm not expecting it at all, okay? I expect a complete beatdown and excuses, again, about why Eli can't play well. Please.
Watch the
but now he has the excuse. He hasn't played in that long.
But that's gonna
it's coming. The excuses.
That's gonna be his advantage because the Eagles don't know how. There's only a short few film on Eli this season.
Nate Soldier can't block. Eli has no running game, right? Even though got Saquon Barkley, but he's struggling, so they're going to be quick. They're going to be quick.
When Eli was the quarterback last year, I don't think Saquon was struggling because Eli was a better distributor of the ball.
No. Saquon was balling out last year.
No, I'm saying Eli was the quarterback last year, and he was able to ball out. Saquon was balling out with Eli as the quarterback.
When they traded Odell, what did I say? I feel bad for Saquon. I said this all summer. I feel bad for Saquon Barkley because now defenses are going to stack the box against Saquon because they know the Giants, Eli's terrible. They have no kind of passing game at all because the quarterback is terrible. And we know Saquon is the big threat. So without Odell going now, defense can key in on Saquon. And what's happened? I mean, I said this. I mean, we could all see it a mile away that this was coming. Saquon has no help on the perimeter with any kind of passing game. But Saquon, the first two games, he did play well. And then game 3, he hurt his ankle. So I feel like that is the biggest reason why he's been so underwhelming since he's come back from the ankle injury. But right now, folks, Charu, Rich, 3 Giant fans, and I've said it before, this season, like the only year in my life where the whole season I had just have apathy towards the Giants because I already knew what was going to happen. They're going to be terrible for the next 5 years, okay, period, all right?
Really?
Yeah, because
they should have drafted like Joe Burrow next year, right? There's no way they could do that.
They should draft Chase Young is what they should draft.
They should draft, if Chase Young is available.
Chase Young is available. I would take Chase Young in a heartbeat.
I mean, Daniel Jones.
Because Joe Burrow looks like he could be a transcendent player, yo.
Yeah, but you already have.
So?
He's going to win the Heisman probably.
Do you think, I mean, Rich, when you see him, do you see him being a transcendent player?
No. I mean, I think he's just a really great college quarterback. But
I mean, it's always a difference. But so they got to stick with Jones. This has to be their quarterback.
Yeah. Look, and when Daniel Jones, the first game he played against the Buccaneers, where I will point out again, Jones' first game Giants were down by, 18 points? They came
Yeah, it was
back.
crazy.
And Eli Manning had, 50-something games in his career where the Giants were down by that many points.
Never won a game.
0-50 whatever in that kind of situation.
It was 0-44. It was 0-44.
Whatever
if
it
you want
is.
the stat
0-40.
accurate, it was 0-44.
0-44. Daniel Jones' first game ever. Giants fall down by that many points.
How did they win that game again?
He comes back, brings them back. First game. So
the Bucks missed.
Eli Manning cannot do that in 44
games. They
games.
missed a cheap shot field goal to win the game.
I don't even care about
that. Shouldn't even count because the Bucks literally should have won that game.
I don't even care about them winning.
But if you want to take away plays, then take away the Tyree catch. You can't take away plays.
Listen,
if this play happened and the result would have been different. You do that with so many games.
Fair point.
Listen,
fair point.
Everybody who's listening on the radio, who's watching on Facebook Live, do me a favor right now. Go to YouTube, type in Super Bowl 42, Asante Samuel. The play before Eli threw that miracle catch to Tyree. Eli threw the ball right to Asante Samuel, the defensive back of the Patriots. He was wide open by himself. Asante Samuel dropped the ball, saved Eli from being the GOAT of the game. If Asante Samuel had caught that pass,
I'm glad you called him the GOAT.
Eli never would have made it to another Super Bowl. He would have been gone, all right? He would have been gone. So Eli got lucky, yes, twice on back-to-back plays. One play.
You could say the same thing about Tom Brady in the AFC Championship last year. What's the difference?
One play, Eli throws the ball to Asante Samuel.
He said the same thing. You can't.
Tom Brady wins every year.
One play from Brady and his career is whack.
He wins every year. Exactly.
This play is whack.
Exactly.
You take away 2 plays from Brady, he still has a whole laundry list of accomplishments. You take away 2 plays from Eli Manning's career, he's not even spoken of at all.
Exactly.
You can't do that with any great player.
I mean, he will be spoken of because of his last name.
He's garbage.
Tom Brady.
That hasn't been nobody.
The Patriots with Tom Brady, they win every year. They are a powerhouse team. Okay.
Eli, how much they win.
The Giants have had a couple of miracle out of nowhere runs with Eli because the Giants should have been a dominant team for years because they had a really great team, but the quarterback is so inconsistent and not that good that he held them back. Okay, they could have done even more, in my opinion, even more when they won those first 2, and now years later, the last 8 years where they've been a complete mess, and he's held them back for years. Eli Manning should go down as a mediocre quarterback who's a game manager, not no Hall of Famer.
But
please.
Guess what?
Joke.
The mediocre quarterback that finessed the bag and is the highest paid player in the NFL.
Shari, you heard that? Eli Manning's the highest paid player ever
in the
NFL.
history of the NFL. Eli is the highest paid player.
That proves my point.
They don't give money to scrubs.
Manning name adds to it. Because he's a Manning.
Look,
they don't pay scrubs to not do good work.
I already said no because he's hyped up. I've already said he's hyped up. They made him out to be the biggest reason why the Giants won the Super Bowls. So they gave him all this money. They got rid of everybody else. And since that's happened, the Giants have been the worst team they've been in over 40 years, And it's because of Eli Manning and the Giants building around him and their blind, stupid loyalty to him and nobody else on the team. Nobody else on those teams got any kind of loyalty. When their play went down, they were all cut. But the head coach of both of those teams got fired. The general manager, the black brother, the few black general managers.
There's only one black general manager in the NFL.
He won 2 championships here. He got fired. Okay, so everybody got fired because of Eli, and Eli stays here, and everything falls apart. It just got worse and worse over the decade.
He's the only constant from 2011 on. He's the only player.
The only constant.
The only constant. Fault but his. He's the leader, captain of the team.
Exactly.
Whether it's the offensive line, or the receivers jumping passes, or the general manager, or the trainer, the defensive coordinator. It's always everyone else's fault but Eli Manning, and he's the only player that's been there through this abysmal stretch.
Exactly.
Makes no sense to me.
Exactly. It's a disgrace, okay? And, I mean, come on. Are you trying to tell me, they would say that Odell Beckham is a cancer. That's such nonsense. First of all, Odell's teammates loved him, but you're trying to tell me that having a quarterback who is the most important position on the field, you have a quarterback who everybody knows is not that good, holding the team back, has all these weapons, as many weapons as any quarterback has at the league to use, as any, and the team can barely move the ball, can't score. They want more than 2 full seasons without scoring 30 points one time. That's a joke, okay? And you're a Hall of Famer? That's nonsense, okay? So you're trying to tell me that the players on the team who see that this guy's not that good, and the Giants always playing him. I mean, every other player on the team, if they don't play well, they get benched. Okay, everybody on the team.
Eli got benched twice.
Everybody
literally got benched.
Everybody
twice.
is on the team.
And then the coach got fired.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Eli loyalty.
He got benched twice.
Exactly. Everybody on the team getting held accountable, but this guy. And so you're trying to tell me that's not a killer to the team morale, to the team spirit? Come on, like don't say Odell's a cancer. And I hate using that word.
I
in
never
sports.
said Odell. I don't think Odell's a cancer.
But not you, but I hear it all the time from Giant fans and media members all the time. People knocking Odell. No, Eli Manning was the one that destroyed that team spirit because the team knew they were stuck with this terrible quarterback, and nobody could say nothing. You say one thing about Eli, everybody's against you in the city. They're all against you, and you get traded out of town, okay?
Well, I guess he must have been an undetected cancer because he literally he must have been an undetected cancer because he survived for years on end.
Hey, Sharu, tomorrow when I see Eli lose and he will officially be a career losing quarterback, I will be popping champagne, baby. Popping champagne.
I can't
wait for that.
I can't deny that part. I do believe the Giants will lose tomorrow. Yeah, they will lose tomorrow.
What do you think?
Are you rooting? You're rooting
No, I want them to win. I just think they'll lose.
Who, me?
No, that's Samori. You rooting for the Giants to lose?
Who, me? Root for the Giants to lose? Who, me? Little old me? Come on now.
You're a clown, bro. The Giants and all that.
But in all actuality, it makes better sense to lose and get a higher pick.
Chase Young, baby.
Winning, you know?
Chase Young, baby.
You should want them to lose, you know?
Hey,
we can finish 2-14.
Hey,
that's our best bet for the 2-14.
Hey, tomorrow I have all the reason in the world to not want the Giants to win. Okay. Okay. All right. So you just said it, baby. You know what I'm saying? You know.
You know, we watching the Eagles jersey.
Hey, Sharu, Mike Vick, number 7 Eagles jersey.
That's the only Eagles jersey I would ever. That or the Sean McCoy jersey. Deshaun Jackson and Sean McCoy. Man. All right, but that's all the time.
No, you should have scored that game. No, it was 46-45. They beat the 49ers or something.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And just before you go, back to that point real quick. Yeah.
Oh my God. You got this man rolling.
The Giant defense gave up what? All these points Rich said to the Saints, right? He said that. Exactly. The Saints offense, this whole decade will put up that many points against
but guess what? Eli also put up 52 points on the Eagles themselves. So what are you trying to make your point?
On the Saints.
On the Saints.
Oh, guys.
2012.
You know what, guys?
25 points on the Saints.
Before we go, I just have to say one last thing. All right, Eli Manning, his career record against Philadelphia. Ready for this? His career record against Philadelphia, 10 wins in 30 games. He has 10 wins and 20 losses against Philadelphia.
Well, after Monday night,
a disgrace. He is terrible. How are you a Hall of Fame quarterback?
And guess what?
And your career record against the Eagles is 10 and 20.
After Monday night, it'll probably be 10 and 21. But it's all good because he'll still be a Hall of Famer. He's still the highest paid player in the history of the NFL, and he still is 2-time Super Bowl MVP. That's all I have to say about that because no matter what, you cannot take that away from Eli Manning. You can throw all the picks you want, but he works well in chaos.
No, he doesn't.
That is all the time we have.
The Giants have been to 4 playoffs with Eli Manning, and were 1 and done in that game. Eli Manning was terrible. Okay?
That is all the time we have on this show. Thank you for calling, Sharu. We appreciate you. Thank you guys all for listening to this very heated time of To Be Honest. We'll look forward to you guys next week. See you around.